President Zelensky says another massive Russian bombardment hit his country overnight. Proof, he said, that the Kremlin is not serious about peace.
Now, is he telling the truth? Or is this the sound of a desperate man? Or is Russia closing in? Let's dive into this. While Europe and the United States contemplate peace, which is what everyone wants, including Jet's global view, Russia continued to hit Ukraine, particularly Kyiv was hit hard just a few days ago.
President Zelensky says another massive Russian bombardment hit his country overnight. Proof, he said, that the Kremlin is not serious about peace. The capital city, Kyiv, was struck repeatedly. This is one of the apartment blocks that was hit. We're told the attack involved nearly 500 drones and 40 missiles, which were largely targeted at energy and civilian infrastructure.
Jet's global view has always held the position that everyone should come to the negotiation table and talk until there is peace. Now, we know that Russia is closing in. We know that Zelensky is under pressure, and it appears as if he now wants peace. 90% of the peace plan is agreed. Obviously, there's 10% outstanding, and they need to work out how they're going to complete that. Donald Trump, it appears, wants to settle this and get it over and done with, and it looks as if Europe is the sticking plaster, and those are the ones that are pushing the flames, and therefore there's been tension between Europe and the United States.
President Zelensky will join a conference call later today with European leaders to discuss the ongoing negotiations. He is preparing to leave for Florida, where he'll meet with President Trump on Sunday. The Ukrainians say 90% of the peace plan has been agreed, although in an interview with Politico, the US president seemed to push back on that idea. He doesn't have anything, he said, until I approve it, which again underscores how tense the relationship is and maybe explains why the Europeans are engaging with President Zelensky ahead of his visit.
And it looks as if Trump was right that nothing can agree unless Trump agrees, because Zelensky flew over to Mar-a-Lago to meet with President Trump, and ahead of time he did not tell the Europeans in details or let them know exactly what the meeting was going to be about.
To the United States. Ahead of the meeting with President Trump, we discussed with our team the key documents that we will be discussing with President Trump tomorrow. The main documents. Not all Europeans know all the details. They could not know all the details yet because we were working in a bilateral format plus several Europeans. There were 3 of them, and then all the others joined.
Colonel Doug McGregor gave his view on the issue with Russia and how Russia is progressing, and this is what he had to say.
So I think the Russians are looking at this and saying, we don't have any choice anymore. We've got to end this war. So we're going to press ahead. Now, what does press ahead mean? Well, they've already got special operations forces on the outskirts of Odessa. They've already destroyed all potential military targets in and around Odessa. They're going to move towards Zaporizhzhia. They're going to get complete control of Kherson, all of the areas in southern Ukraine. There's no choice on that matter. And eventually, I think we'll see them occupy Odessa. I've always felt that way. They've said that for the last 3 years. And you'll remember that Russians were herded into buildings in Odessa and then burned alive by the Ukrainians down there. That's something the Russians have never forgotten, and I would not forget that either. So I think those things are on the table. The question is, do you cross the river in strength and go north to Kyiv?
Well, it did cross the river and strike Kyiv with drones and missiles. And this is what President Putin and his team were discussing of the achievements they've had. Watch this.
We have agreed that the troops will conduct combat operations in accordance with the plan of the special military operation. The head of the General Staff, General Grudskoy, Speaker 8, comrades officers, Comrade Commander-in-Chief. The participants in the meeting are ready to work. The head of the main operational department, General Colonel Grudskoy. Speaker 1, dear comrades, good afternoon. Today we will hold another meeting on the situation in the Special Military Operations Zone. I know that you have something to report. Comrade Commander-in-Chief, the troops of the United Group are advancing in all directions. The commandment of the armed forces of Ukraine is making unsuccessful attempts to stop our advance. The units and military units of the Northern Group continue to carry out tasks to create security lines in the border areas of Sumy and Kharkov regions of Ukraine. The settlements of Vysokoye in the Sumy region and Vilcha and Prilipka in the Kharkov region have been under our control for the last 2 weeks. The troops of the Western Group are currently eliminating the enemy formations blocked on the left bank of the Oskol River in the east of Kupiansk. In the south of the Oskol River, the Novoplatonovka River has been liberated, and the Buguslavka River has been cleared. In the Krasnolimansk direction, the enemy group is encircled in the settlement of Drobyshevo and is being destroyed. In the Krasnolimansk direction, the battles are being fought in the southeast and eastern parts of the city. The southern group, after the liberation of Seversk, is advancing rapidly in the direction of Slavyansk. The settlement of Kirov has been liberated. The street battles continue in Konstantinovka.
Now, following the meeting with Donald Trump and President Zelensky, what Trump said in that press conference will definitely shock you. You should have seen the look on Zelensky's face after Trump made this statement. Watch this.
We had a terrific meeting. We discussed a lot of things. As you know, I had an excellent phone call with President Putin that lasted for over 2 hours. We discussed a lot of points. And I do think we're getting a lot closer, maybe very close. Russia's going to be helping. Russia wants to see Ukraine succeed. Once it sounds...
What? Did you just say, Trump? Just observe the look on Zelensky's face. You can see that he was not expecting that. He didn't expect that Trump was going to say something like that. He wanted to do this, really, put his face in his hand and hold it down in shame. Trump, as you know, is someone that is unpredictable and you can never tell what he will say.
A little strange, but I was explaining to the president, President Putin was very generous in his feeling toward Ukraine succeeding, including supplying energy, electricity, and other things at very low prices. So a lot of good things came out of that call.
I would like to thank President Trump for a great meeting at this amazing place in his home in Mar-a-Lago. And we discussed all the aspects of the peace framework, which includes, and we have great achievements, 20-point peace plan, 90% agreed, and U.S.-Ukraine security guarantees, 100% agreed. U.S.-Europe-Ukraine security guarantees, almost.
They've made good progress in trying to stop the fighting, which is really good. But is this a concession of defeat for a catastrophic failure by the West? Because they thought they would have toppled Russia by now. But now everyone is agreeing because of the inroads or the advance Russia military is making. What do you think about that statement? Tell me if you agree or not. But boy, you can see on Zelensky's face, he was not happy with what Trump said about what President Putin wants in terms of Ukraine succeeding. Now, here comes the questions.
Agreed?
Have you agreed on the so-called free trade zone on Donbass?
The word agreed is too strong. I would say not agreed, but we're getting closer to an agreement on that, and that's a big issue, certainly. That's one of the big issues.
Our attitude is very clear. That's why President Trump said this is a very tough question. And of course, we have with Russians different positions.
What do you think it'll take to get this last little bit, as you say, finished? What are we talking about?
So if it went really well, maybe a few weeks, and if it went poorly longer, and if it went really poorly, it's not going to happen.
President Trump, I know you sound an optimistic note here, but what happens in a few weeks if things sputter? What are you prepared to do?
They keep fighting, and they keep dying. No good. But if things don't happen, they keep fighting, and they keep dying. And we don't want that to happen. He doesn't want it to happen. President Putin doesn't want it to happen either. Okay? Thank you very much.
There you have it. So now it's your turn. It's over to you. What is your view? Sound off in the comment section. Do you believe that there will now definitely be an end to this vicious and brutal war, and you think that they will finally reach a settlement? Or do you believe that Zelensky may be stubborn and Europe will push him to continue and therefore there'll be more life lost? Or do you think that Putin is stubborn and doesn't want to end this and he has a bigger endgame? Write your comments in the comment section. Let's have a discussion and a debate about this. So I'd like to thank you very much for your time, and I shall see you on the other topic.